Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Party Chat, our community Q&A. Dare I say it, me, Ben Hansen, your host for this one. Thank you for being here. Dare I say it, this is the last episode of Party Chat for 2022. Thank you all for supporting MinMax this year. Greatly appreciated. A special thank you to everybody at that MinMax Council tier. If you're at that tier, you can call in each and every week to Party Chat and podcast with us about anything under the sun. Starkiller.
Yes.
Welcome. You want to talk about Avatar: The Way of Water, correct?
Let's go.
Sure do.
Okay, Jacob Kelly.
I want to talk about Avatar: The Way of Water.
Okay. All right, good, because I want to talk about Avatar: The Way of Water. I think we can do this without any spoilers, just so we're all on the same page here. Jacob, I hope that's okay for you.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, and again, everybody in the audience here for Party Chat at the MinMax Council tier, you can flick your hand on and off in Discord if you want to join us for this discussion about Avatar: The Way of Water. I went with Brian Vore, who you've heard on much MinMax content, and I just got back like a couple hours ago from going to a matinee for Avatar: The Way of Water. I don't know where everybody else is at, but that movie freaking ruled. I was over the damn moon, and I was annoyed by my theater, which was a full theater, but it's one of those with like super comfy seats, so everyone was kind of spaced out. No one was really, it got laughs and stuff in the right places, but there were like 3 moments where I was like ready to pop up and applaud, and the theater was just dead quiet. And I was struck by, basically I'm trying to figure out, am I out of my mind, or is that movie as good as I think it was?
Oh, no, it's great. And also my complaint is also people only cheer when an actor they recognize is playing Reed Richards. Now, that's the only thing that makes an audience pop off. But I was pumping my fist. I was saying woohoo. Yes. I was going ugh every time a 4-foot-long arrow went through a helicopter pilot.
Yes, which is like, I want to see that compilation, by the way. I want to see a compilation of people in helicopters getting hit by arrows, and also the word bro and cuz being used.
Bro.
There was a lot more bro and cuz in this movie.
Look, that's what happens when you're raised by a Marine.
Honestly,
I think that's realistic.
I mean, I think that's one of the 1,000 things that's fascinating about this movie, is so much of it just trying to unpack the idea of like, yeah, what is a family unit that is cornered by or built up from a Marine, and it's just filtering down into so much of the family dynamics. But Starkiller, what did you think about Avatar: The Way of Water?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I rewatched because they re-released the first one like in September, I think, back in theaters. So I'm like, well, I gotta go see it in theaters. And watching them fairly close to back, it's stark how good this one looks. It's insanely high fidelity, I guess you'd call it. I don't know how they made that movie look like it does.
No, absolutely. And we saw it in a very nice theater with 3D, and even just seeing the 3D trailers before it started rolling, I was like, oh, that's right. 3D, yuck. I'm looking at even the trailer for Little Mermaid in 3D. I was like, I don't know about this. And then Avatar starts, and it's just, I am there, baby. I am so in. And the part that is wild to me is I can't figure out, it was not listed anywhere at this AMC theater if this was the high frame rate version.
I think I didn't see the high frame rate version either, but from everything I've heard, you would know.
Is that
because
right?
Starkiller, do you have any experience with this? Because I can talk, but I didn't see it in high frame rate.
Well, see, now you're making. I didn't know there was another version, but I could definitely tell that the frame rate was changing in different scenes.
Yes,
and I thought
because that's the
version.
weird thing about it, is that it's not a constant 48. It's switching between 24 and 48. And so everyone who's seen it says, or I've seen it's like, look, the high frame rate stuff is really cool. You can really tell that they are switching back and forth, and eventually the 24 stuff feels like a video game that's lagging.
Weird. Okay,
the same thing.
That's bizarre because, so I guess they switched to 24 when there's humans on the screen, which is a diabolical way to shift it. It's super smart. But I know I'm a video guy. I should understand this, but it wasn't listed anywhere there's a high frame rate. But there's some scenes where I'm like, this feels like 48. And then some where it's like, this absolutely is not 48. So I was convinced that it wasn't there. Brian Vore was like, absolutely, that was the high frame rate version. And it was just shifting so much. But I don't know if I have to call my AMC theater and ask them.
What did you see it in?
It was an AMC.
Was it a Dolby?
It was Dolby
IMAX?
AMC, yeah.
Okay, I think all of the Dolby ones are high frame rate.
Okay, all right. Well, then that transition, it was, some scenes would look a lot smoother than others. And I think it was just that idea of, okay, if there's a human in it, then they're not going to make it 48. I am looking forward to now consuming the internet and their feedback for this movie, just to be clear, I'm not a wild Avatar fan. I've been a defender because the amount of hate that movie from 2009 got still blows my mind. It's an awesome big budget sci-fi movie, and it was an original idea, and it's the highest grossing movie of all time. Like, why are we hating this? Yes, it's dorky. A lot of sci-fi is dorky, everybody. Are we not dorks? Should we not celebrate dorky things that are successful and good? And so even like with Avatar: The Way of Water, the murmurings that I've heard is a lot of people are like, it's not that good. James Cameron, he's so far up his own butt.
Who have you heard this from? I have not seen
you
these
have
takes.
Okay, all right.
No.
You know what it was? I've heard rumblings of that. Twitter every once in a while, people say it's not so great. GameSpot was just tweeting out a review. God bless GameSpot, but the headline for the review was "Dead in the Water" and talking about how disappointing it was. And then I went on Rotten Tomatoes, and I understand I shouldn't be frustrated with Rotten Tomatoes, but I was like, 77%. Like that giant film that is just, in my mind, damn near rock solid. 77 is as high as it gets. And I'm not just trying to, bow down to something because it's expensive, but it blows my mind that I think the wildest, biggest production in Hollywood history, like, it still works so well just on a basic dramatic level. I mean, you're 10 minutes into that movie, and I just realized, like, oh, I'm in. Like, this is working. It snuck up on me, but I'm already fully invested in this world and the characters. And one of my favorite things is, like, I thought for sure it was going to be so far up its own butt and just be 40 minutes of Jake and Neytiri talking and looking at animals again and being like, oh, aren't we in love? Isn't our world beautiful? But like, it really hits the ground running and has a story to tell, which is...
Yeah, and it's the middle 40 minutes that's looking at animals and talking about
it
the
is,
world.
It
and
is, that is true.
The best 40 minutes of the movie, maybe.
Without spoiling anything big about the movie, you probably have seen some of this, but I didn't expect so much of it to be about whales, but then also I didn't imagine my conclusion walking out of that movie to be like, God, whales are truly the best.
I want more whales.
Yes, whale content. I demand it, please.
God, the fact that the credits has essentially the Top Gun shot, but it's a whale.
Yes, yes.
Like, it's just, God, it's good.
Oh man, people were walking out in the credits, but they were still showing the footage.
I know.
In 3D. And I was like, what are you
know.
people doing? The movie's still going. Like, this is why I'm here.
I know. I was joking around with Brian where I'm like, can you imagine the producers for this movie and just be like, hey, James Cameron, can we just have a black screen with white text for our credits? Do we need to spend another $50 million on animating even more creatures going around the ocean? At this point in the movie, we got it. There are cool creatures in the ocean, but still, we're going to keep ramming that down your throats. Okay, I've heard a lot of people also say, maybe it's just my sister, but she counts for like 400 people. But she's like, she told me in 2009, she's not a dorky person. She's not a sci-fi person. She told me Avatar was her favorite film of all time after seeing it in theaters. She's like, that's it. That's my number one film. And so for this one, I was texting her about it. And she's like, I'll see it when it's streaming. I was like, no, like, are you out of your mind? Go see it in 3D. Bring the kids. Like, this is an incredible cinematic achievement.
No, people need to be reminded, because it is, I mean, like, the thing is, Avatar does not play well on a small screen.
Yes.
And so I feel like a lot of the backlash is people watching it on their TV and being like, this is fine. And it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels like going to Cirque du Soleil and complaining that the story could have been more nuanced, where it's like there are more things that movies can do to be art than have, kind of cunningly written dialogue or whatever. And so it's like, it kind of trades in one or the other, but that one is so necessary to be kind of overwhelmed by in a sensory way, that when you watch it on your TV, it just feels like nothing.
Right, and you can criticize it all. And I don't think the writing is bad in this movie. I think there's lines that are really funny that work overall. I think that it's all about family staying together, and like I got choked up, tears welling like 4 times throughout this movie. Maybe I'm just in a big softy mood or something, but it absolutely got me. And I think, Jacob, where I'm coming with some of the defensiveness about this is I think it's from just years of everybody making fun of James Cameron for making so many Avatar sequels and like, oh, do you even remember the characters' names from the first one? And that debate, which drove me up the frickin' wall. But it's that idea of like, I don't understand why we're all so snobby and turn our nose up at the idea of one of the greatest living film directors taking a big swing and saying, hey, I'm going to try something big and weird and give it my all. Here I go. And then the entire world, it felt like, was like made fun of him. And he swung it, and in my mind, completely knocked out of the park for this first sequel. It's just, you got to give it up at some point. Like, especially some of those sequences towards the end of this movie.
Oh, good
it's
Lord.
Unbelievable.
I mean, like, truly an exercise in spending 2.5 hours building up the most killable people ever put on a film screen and then delivering.
Yes. And okay, even just like, oh my God. So just the technical aspect. So I was really struck. Okay, there's a lot of things I want to unpack here. And Starkiller, I want to hear more of your thoughts too. And anybody else in the community that wants to jump up and talk about this. But I love how many interviews James Cameron has done for this film. And I love that messaging that he's getting out there with of like, hey, I would like directors to be more of a community and celebrate each other. And like Marvel has really moved the whole, tech behind filmmaking ahead leaps and bounds. And I appreciate it. And hey, rising tide lifts all boats, as they like to say, especially in this film. And that's wonderful to see. But I saw like specifically Guillermo del Toro. I think he saw like an early version of this. And he tweeted something like, God, do you remember this, Jacob? It was something along the lines of like, there's a sequence towards the end of this movie, he says, that I could not begin to fathom making. I think he says like, if you told me I had to direct that sequence and you put a gun to my head, you should just pull the trigger because there's no, I think that's literally what he said. Like there's no way any other director could possibly achieve this. And I wanted to specifically what he's talking about, but the part that even blew my mind is there's shots of just awesome. Okay. Again, I'm sorry for rambling, but I was expecting wild Pandora, Avatar creatures, all that stuff. I didn't expect so much cool human military tech. Like there's just a lot of cool mech stuff in this movie.
Well, but that's the also simultaneously though, the most James Cameron feeling.
Yes.
Just like, oh yeah, he's spent his entire life thinking about submarines and everything that he hasn't been able to like actually make happen in real life. He's just going to put in this movie because he thinks about it every waking minute of his life.
Yeah, and it's just the most obvious thing, but there's just moments of like, yeah, that's right. This is the director of Aliens, everybody. Like seeing soldiers in cool tech deploying in a James Cameron movie is awesome.
I assume you haven't because you just saw it, but have you listened to the blank check?
No, I have it queued up, but I wanted to have this discussion before I was too contaminated.
There's a lot of good, both talking about, I haven't finished it yet, but both talking about those things and just like Cameron's behind the scenes manner that I found super interesting and good.
Behind the scenes manner? What do you mean by that?
I mean, just like him as a director and kind of how he changed his approach for this movie versus his previous movies and stuff like that, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. But okay, the part that I want to talk about is like just crazy sci-fi boats, basically, going across the ocean. And if I just paused it and really had a lot of time to break it all down, I'm still confused about like, I don't know what I'm looking at. This whole movie looks so damn good. I don't understand if they built those boats, if all those humans are just on a green screen. I do not know how that's working, but making it look so good when there's this awesome sci-fi boat that's going over the waves and the humans in it look perfect. How do you do that? Starkiller, how did they do that?
It's easier to imagine when they're all Na'vi because you're just like, okay, well that's just all, it's 100% CGI the whole time. Yep. But then it's like, yeah, it feels like it's shot on location.
Yes.
It's like, how is that possible?
And there's a scene of like a human crawling up on a shore towards the end. And also it was just that moment of like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. And I was like, is that real ground? I cannot tell what is happening at any point. And I know they're going to release some 10-minute YouTube video that's behind the scenes of Avatar: Way of the Water, and it's just going to be the stupid actors talking about the personality of their characters. But like,
we really liked that we got in the water.
Exactly. We had to hold our breath so long. Like, that's great. That's great. This deserves like a 20-hour making of just to unpack how the hell they pulled this off. But Starkiller, what did you think about Avatar: The Way of Water?
I thought it was amazing. Like, you guys were talking about kind of the spectacle of it, which I was enjoying the whole time, and I was just, this story is nothing to write home about, but it's perfectly good at getting the point across of this is the story we're telling. It's not exactly deep because we're trying to hit, mass audiences, and it doesn't really need to be deep because you're just supposed to be here in this world. But by the time that third act hit and like all the crazy stuff was going on,
my God.
I was like, oh yeah, James Cameron is an amazing action movie director. This is awesome.
Yes!
I mean, while I was watching that, I was just like, he is the best action scene director living. It was just, it is that Guillermo del Toro thing of just like the vision to execute 5 seconds of this, let alone, an hour of sustained just bananasness. Oh boy. AJ Moser, friend of MinMax, etc., saw it 3 times in 36 hours.
I get it. I really get it. Simple things, seeing it in 3D that got me is like, I didn't expect this to be so cool, but every time they like submerge the camera and you see like the water level going up, we've all seen that shot 1,000 times, but like, I'd never seen that in 3D, and somehow that's always great. It's always satisfying. Or like in the end, there's kind of some debris in the water, and just going through in 3D there, it just looked so damn cool. Also, I don't want to put something else down to raise Avatar: Way of Water up, but like, I saw Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed fine.
Oh boy, no, it does not. It doesn't look good next to this. At least the water stuff specifically.
Okay, like the big action scene at the end of that, which involves a battle in the water. Put these 2 endings of the movie side by side, and people will laugh at Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I hate to say it, because I like that movie, but even just like world building wise, I just, goddamn, this movie just annihilated. And it's so weird that Disney released these 2 water related films with kind of similar finales, and also a lot of people riding whales, and they came out within 2 months of each other. It is just bizarre aquatic timing.
The like a single moment that I want to call out that's like, it's such a big movie. I don't think this will spoil anything, but there's a part where just like a quick moment where like part of a submarine breaks that humans are in, and water starts coming in, and I was just like, like in the theater, just like, it was instantly the most like claustrophobic underwater thing I could possibly imagine. And you expect that like building that would take, watching humans be in a submarine for like 3 hours first, but it's like, you don't even know these people's names. You just see them in a submarine, and then water starts coming in, and it is the most like visceral response.
And also, it's like in this moment of, you go from like an F yeah, this rules, then to like, oh my God, this is terrifying.
And again,
it's
like,
so good.
Are those real guys in a real submarine?
I don't
know. What's happening?
I don't know. And just like, another thing that looked amazing in 3D, and I know it's 2022, everybody. I shouldn't be amazed by tech that was in Coraline, but like, it's so awesome to see the windshield of those subs in particular, like just seeing that in 3D and like the distortions around it, so damn cool. And world building wise, we all laugh. They laughed, Jacob, at the idea of making 4 more Avatar movies, but like, I love seeing James Cameron, who seems like an asshole, to be very fair, for a lot of his career at least. Maybe he's doing better now. But in a lot of these interviews, just talking about how he's like, Star Wars rules and Lord of the Rings rules, and I'm trying to build up a universe that can be as sustainable as those, which is an awesome mission. Hats off to a fellow dork for going for it. But I was struck on that front, first of all, by like, I feel like they opened enough doors for this movie where it's like, that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. I feel confident about it moving forward. But then also, I thought it was funny that in the credits, it says like halfway through the credits, there's a line that just says, characters created by James Cameron. Which is like the weird move that they do for like these Star Wars TV shows about like characters created by George Lucas. But it's like, yeah, no kidding, James Cameron. But I think that's just a sign of that world building, that if Avatar's going for the next 30 years, he wants to get that ball rolling now of, put my name in the frickin' credits. George Lucas me, baby, please.
I mean, there was like a thing he said where he was like, Avatar 5, we're going back to Earth or something.
Yes.
And now it's like, God, I cannot wait for that.
I know.
The scene towards the beginning where there is just a bulldozer that is seemingly the single biggest thing that you have ever seen on a movie screen.
Yes.
I was like, God, take me to Earth. Let me see what hell it is there.
It is such an easy move to have him teasing the future of Avatar, but every interview where he drops those, like, oh yeah, Avatar 4, maybe it is, I forget which one it was exactly, like, we'll be going back to Earth. My mind is reeling. But then also he's had a lot of these teases of like, you think Way of Water's cool. He's like, Avatar 3 kicks its butt. Avatar 4, it had a moment that had the studio executives say, oh my effing God, and then they dropped a coffee cup on the floor and it shattered. And then Avatar 5 is even better than that. Like, just that simple calling your shot hype. I'm completely on board for this nonsense.
Yes.
Starkiller, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it feels kind of like a God of War, or maybe like a Last of Us, PlayStation first party kind of situation, where it's like, with a cheaper movie or a less experienced director, you would do certain things, like you wouldn't show we're like, oh, we gotta cut this action sequence, we gotta cut around this action sequence because we don't have the budget, and it just feels like he has so much power, say on a God of War kind of level, that it's like, we could just throw money at this problem until we get it exactly how we want it, and then we can create an amazing product.
There was a thing that people were saying around the time that Eternals was coming out, where they were like, you know what, they gave her like an unlimited budget for this movie, and then you watch Eternals and it's like, no, they didn't. Or she did not know how to use it. Or like, I don't know what unlimited budget means. But you watch this and you're like, this is infinite money. This is what infinite money looks like. And it's endorsing eco-terrorism. And I am excited about it.
Yeah, it's like, is that not worth going to a theater and seeing it in 3D, everybody? Like, what do they have to do to get you out of your damn house if not Avatar The Way of Water's production? Like, I cannot fathom.
For what it's worth, my theater was packed. I went IMAX 3D Saturday afternoon, which is, kind of prime time. But the theater was absolutely packed.
Yeah, mine was full too.
Yeah. I think mine was up there. Are you going to go again, Jacob Geller?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a flat yes.
I might have to go just to make sure that I went to the high frame rate version, just in case I wasn't there, but I'm sure I was. All right, Starkiller, anything else you want to talk about with Avatar Way of Water?
No, it's awesome.
It's awesome. I am already angry for any haters out there. I understand it's dorky, but dorks got to stay together. Just like the Sullys stay together, dorks have to stay together. And this is some dorky stuff, and we should be happier about it as dorks, is my only plea. This was a clip from Party Chat, our Patreon exclusive podcast that airs every single Monday. The podcast features cohorts and friends of the show, contributors, talking directly to the MinMax community. So if you're looking for even more podcasts from MinMax, this is the place to go. Just head to patreon.com/MinMax with 2 N's, support us at the $5 tier, and you can listen to Party Chat every single week. Thanks so much, everybody. We appreciate it.